you all for listening and following through. My name is Kelly Kochanski, and I'm going to be introducing the rest of this workshop, along with my co-organizer, Peetak Mitra. Peetak, do you want to take a minute and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. We're very excited to have you here. I'm Peetak. I'm a final year PhD student at the University of Massachusetts. Super excited for the rest of the day, and we'll talk about the agenda and all that is all that we have in store for you. So thank you for joining in.
Thank you. Peetak will be following up in a minute to introduce the schedule for the workshop and walk you through what we're going to be doing today. Following up with myself, I'm a recent PhD from the University of Colorado Boulder, where I use numerical methods and machine learning to make better predictions about sea ice and polar climate. So I'm going to share a few slides with you here to introduce the workshop. This might take just a second to get up on the screen. There we go. All right, so welcome again to Climate Science and Adaptation Day, which is part of the workshop on tackling climate change with machine learning at the International Conference on Learning Representations 2020. We're excited to have you all here. For those of you who have been following the rest of this workshop, this is the fourth of 5 events. We hosted a workshop on April 26th, Saturday, and we followed that up with virtual booths or smaller workshops targeted at some of the main areas that we need to work on in order to tackle climate change. These include energy, agriculture, forestry and land use, climate science today, and a cross-cutting methods day that we'll be having tomorrow, which will talk about how some techniques like remote sensing and time series analysis recur throughout the different themes that we're looking at and are applicable to many problems. Tune back in tomorrow if that's interesting for you. This workshop overall is organized by many of those of us you've seen here. Again, I'm Kelly Kochanski. You met Peetak Mitra. Our names are here in blue. We're here with you specifically for this day, coming out of climate science backgrounds to work on this booth. The rest of the organizers, many of whom you met in the previous session, include Priya Danti, David Rolnick, Lynn Kak, Sasha Lucioni, Chris Sankaran, Sharon Ju, Mustafa Sis, Carla Gomez, Andrew Ng, and Joshua Bengio. This workshop is sponsored by Microsoft and DeepMind. Now, for some of the logistics, you're already here, so you've probably seen some of these links, but you can always go to climatechange.ai and look under the events tab for the iClear workshop if you want to find more info, or if you get disconnected and need to come back to the Zoom. You can tag us on social media at CCAI iClear20, and you can also contact us through the email or Rocket Chat. We're using a Zoom chat as well for many questions in this session, but to keep it clear so everyone can follow those, we'd prefer if you don't use this channel for things like scheduling or logistics or Zoom issues. Oops, sorry. Many of you have already started asking about the bigger picture and the kinds of resources and tools and software that are available for things like making data sets or figuring out what kind of emissions you're using in climate models. These are the sorts of questions that interest us. At Climate Change AI, we're working on facilitating work that uses machine learning to make solutions to climate change. This includes both reducing carbon emissions and also helping people adapt to inevitable changes. Solving these problems requires bringing together people from many fields in many different domains of science. And we're working on creating platforms that'll make that happen. You can see here a screenshot of our website at climatechange.ai. We have a large paper written up there called Tackling Climate Change with Machine Learning. You'll hear that phrase a few times today. That summarizes the existing literature on climate change solutions using machine learning. And it's a great starting point if you want to get interested in this field, whether you're coming from a machine learning or a science background. We're also building up a list of community events, including a forum and workshops like this, which you can find out more about, and collecting resources, which gives people an opportunity to publicize their work, tools, and data sets to help create cross-cutting tools that'll work well for these problems. If you want to get more deeply involved, again, stick around for the Cross-Cutting Methods Day tomorrow, and you can also join the CCAI discussion forum, which will allow you to connect to other people, potential collaborators. We get quite a few postings about studentships, job postings, and things like that, so that you can find out more. You can also sign up for your newsletter, which you were probably prompted to do when you came into the start of this workshop. Sorry about that, I got muted for a second there. Going back to sharing the screen. I hope you can see the screen again now. So the last step that you should have in getting involved here is to sign up for the Climate Change AI newsletter, which again will be full of opportunities, events, interesting papers, and a mix of job postings and opportunities.
Just FYI, you're not full screen.
Thank you. I'm going to pass this over to Peetak to present the schedule, so that'll help there. Peetak, would you like to present the workshop schedule?
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kelly, for your introduction about the activities of the of Climate Change AI, and especially related to the workshop that we are doing this week. So welcome, everyone. We are very excited for the programming today. We have put together a list of exciting speakers from leading tech companies like Microsoft, IBM, Google, as well as national laboratories in the US, and top universities from across the world. So you've already been part of the tutorial by Sasha Lucioni and Sharon. And that was about a tutorial on machine learning 101. And the next thing that we are going to do right now is to go over some overview that I'll provide of the entire day, what to expect, what timings are each of these talks, so that you can plan your day around it. And we will be joined by Karthik from AI for ES about his participation, and he will be moderating some of these sessions today as well, and you'll hear about more from him in a bit. So our first session is on adaptability, and the way we have divided this particular day is that we have taken chunks of time to discuss and deep dive into certain topics related to climate change and machine learning. So the first one is about adaptability, and here you will learn how machine learning can help in climate adaptation, and how technology leaders and industry is using these tools or building these tools for folks like you to use and build more exciting products and build a climate resilient future, to be honest. So the first talk we have is from Jason Hickey. He's from Google AI. And then we have the founder from Microsoft AI for Earth program, Lucas Joppa, joining us. And after that, we have something we call as a breakout room. So the idea behind the breakout room is that that we will provide a forum for all the participants to interact with the speakers, as well as amongst themselves, to talk about certain questions or share ideas about your work, or share ideas about where this field should go, what are the challenges, so that we get a sense of where you are in terms of your research and your and the issues with data sets you have, or things like that, computation, things like that. And then we have a couple of short presentations from Kaulia Malkin and Ankur Mahesh from Climate AI. And they have previously presented at CCAI events at NeurIPS and ICLR last year. So they'll be giving us an update about what new they have been up to in terms of their work in climate adaptability. The next session that we have, starting at 1600 hours UTC, is on building physical emulators. So the idea here is to learn from the leaders from Google and top universities about the advances in machine learning that can actually build complicated physical emulators. What are the challenges? What is the state of the art? And where is the road ahead? And you'll be hearing from Yossi Mates from Google AI. He's the VP of engineering at Google. We're very excited to have him. And he's also the head of R&D of Google Israel. Then you will hear from Mohammed Qasim from the University of Oxford. he has worked on this excellent paper that has built a physical emulator for the global circulation models. And we are very excited to have him as well. And we'll have similarly themed a breakout room that discusses these topics within all the participants. And you will get a chance to interact more informally with the participants, with your fellow participants, as well as us and the speakers. And then we have a couple of short update talks from Sukyung and Valentina, and they will be they have previously presented at CCAI events, and they'll be talking about what how they have made advancements or how they have pushed the state of the art since then in this sphere, and share their experiences with all of you. And the last session today would be on climate forecasting. Here we are bringing together leaders from top Department of Energy laboratories, Los Alamos National Lab, Lawrence Berkeley Labs, as well as top industry as well, like IBM. We all are familiar with IBM's weather forecasting tools, which most people in the US use for a day-to-day information about the weather, local weather. And we'll have, and the session is designed like Lester McKay would be from Microsoft, will be the first one talking about his experience in building an advanced climate informatics tool, as well as the challenges for forecasting. Balu Nadiga from Los Alamos National Lab will be talking about climate forecasting for global circulation models, which are relevant for predicting and informing our policymakers about the climate change, effect of climate change on the globe. Campbell Watson from IBM would be talking about IBM's efforts in building an industry-leading product for climate forecasting that is frankly very popularly, very widely used. And then we'll have a breakout session where we'll get to interact with all these speakers informally, as well as amongst yourself. And Adrian Albert, from founder of Terrafuse and also a scientist at Lawrence Berkeley Lab, will talk about his work in building a groundbreaking forecasting product for climate risk prediction. And after that, we'll end with a set of closing remarks, and that is the overall overview of the day. So may I pass this on Karthik to maybe introduce himself and his work with AI for ES now.
Yeah, so AI for Earth Sciences, or generally what we would consider Earth System Sciences, is a multidisciplinary field which includes different spheres of the Earth system, from the hydrosphere to the cryosphere to the atmosphere, as well as the lithosphere. So just as in the field of, say, computer science, you can divide the field into different subfields. The Earth System Science field and Earth Sciences field is a very old field, which has existed for thousands of years now, or even more. And this is an old science where a lot of the subdisciplines deserve their own research attention. And the goal of Earth System Science is to bridge gaps between machine learning or artificial intelligence broadly, and the Earth System Science field. And Kelly Kochanski is a co-organizer in this, along with Joanna Hansen, who couldn't join us today, as is Aaron Kurwell. And we have a steering committee with people from broad backgrounds. So recently we ran on the 26th of April a workshop session, a full-day workshop session, which was in the very first year very well attended. And there was also another unique session which focused on labeled data sets. And this broadly is currently being referred to as NViroNet, but what that refers to is an ImageNet analog repository for labeled data sets. And within that, we had papers like ClimateNet and WeatherBench. So you'll see that there's a bit of crossover between, as you can see, climate change AI and Earth System Science fields, obviously. But it's a different lens in that one is focused more towards tackling climate change with machine learning, whereas we're focused on the science of the Earth itself and how machine learning, how we can bridge gaps with machine learning. And there were a bunch of other data. So there are fields like solid earth, where you can look at seismology and even just purely weather and meteorology, which don't necessarily always relate with the broader science of climate science. And these are certain fields which fit into our workshop. Along with this, we're also interested in going ahead into other areas like geohealth, or looking at the intersection of environmental epidemiology and how that links with earth sciences, but taking the environmental lens on this. And also there was a keynote speaker this year who focused on the intersection of communication within earth sciences using visuals and art. And Paul Miller, or DJ Spooky, he's a National Geographic explorer, as well as an artist in residence at Google. So in the future, we do plan on linking up with this field as well. And this year we limited some of the participation and didn't overly advertise it to the planetary science field. So perhaps in Europe's going ahead in December, we might be extending the invitations more broadly to some of the exoplanet and planetary science disciplines as well, where there's quite a bit of crossover with Earth analog research. So yeah, if you want to check it out, we're at ai4earthscience.github.io at the moment, still in its very first year. So thank you.
Thank you, Karthik, for that introduction and workshop summary. I'll post the link in the chat at the end of this introduction. AI for Earth Science should be specifically interesting to those of you who come out of a climate science background and are looking for an opportunity to engage with machine learning community on a scientific front, which isn't necessarily focused specifically on climate change solutions. So I'm going to take the next few minutes to talk about how you can participate in this workshop. I'm going to share another slide with a couple of links for you. So as many of you have already found out, you can join in the conversation here by posting questions in the Zoom chat. We are going to read those questions out for you so that we don't have to deal with microphone and Zoom problems. But we also still want to give you a space to have a voice and a conversation here. After all, usually my favorite part of conferences are finding exciting people and having good conversations over coffee and lunch. We can't give you coffee, but we will be having 3 breakout discussions today where you'll be able to talk to other participants. These are listed on our main schedule online. Each time that one of them starts, and I'll give you these instructions again right before we get to them, we're going to separate you into breakout rooms of about 10 people with a series of discussion questions so that you can start having some more informal interactions and also work out and think about some of the pressing questions in the field in your research. For the moment, we'd like to start getting to know you a little bit. At the URL here, tinyurl.com/CCAI-CSAD, standing for Climate Change AI-Climate Science and Adaptation Day, we've got a short poll, which will help us figure out where you're coming from in terms of machine learning, climate science, and different levels of expertise in those fields, so that we can tailor the workshop to the levels that you're at. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to go and look at that and fill that in. And then I'm going to open up part of the floor with a few icebreaker questions so that we can start hearing about some of the things that you're actually working on. And then finally, in 10 minutes at 8:30, we're going to go into our first keynote for the day. Be back in 1 minute. Okay, so I hope you've had some time to go through our poll there and start asking and looking at the questions. I'm going to take the screen share down for the moment, but we'll post the link in the chat. Just a second. Got a few too many screens going on here. All right, so I'd like to pose a couple of questions to the chat at the moment. I'd like to hear what you're hoping to learn from this workshop for those of you who are here. And chime in. I'd love to get a bunch of different voices coming in on this one. I'm going to leave this open in the chat in a moment for a moment. I know I'm hoping to learn about exciting things that are going on in terms of accelerating climate models and figuring out how we calculate climate risk. Thanks to those of you who have started chiming in here. I love how different the summaries that we've had so far are, and they're getting right to the heart of a lot of the things that we'd like to talk about in this workshop, like how to integrate machine learning into climate science models, and also how to integrate machine learning with meaningful physical understanding of what's going on in the Earth system. We've got a couple of people adding questions about how the things we talk about in this workshop can feed into other fields, like private industry, or how we can bring information back from climate science into AI, making that knowledge transfer go in both directions. All right, I want to open up one more question for you here, but feel free to keep going on the other one if you're still typing. I know it takes a moment there. I'd also like to hear about the coolest or most original and unexpected uses of machine learning you've seen in your field. Thank you for all of your thoughtful questions and answers here. So we're seeing an interest in using climate forecasting and adaptability to impact vulnerable societies, different ways the AI community is tackling its own impact on climate, and how successful or unsuccessful we've been in achieving outcomes. And Lauren Kuntz is highlighting the use of AI as a replacement for cloud physics to enable more realistic cloud effects in climate models. We've had papers on that winning Best Paper awards so far at previous CCAI workshops. I think it's a really exciting and applicable kind of work that addresses one of the biggest uncertainties in climate models. And we're also getting questions about global maps of soil microbial biomass. I think one of my personal examples here might be Sasha's visualization of flood effects. I think that's really unexpected and not where I originally thought the field of machine learning for climate would go. I'm also very interested in anything to do with polar science. I think there's a lot of really interesting machine learning problems there because we're just starting to get remote sensing data for these large, vulnerable, rapidly changing regions of Earth. Okay, well, thank you all for your answers. I'd like to pass this over back to Peetak for just a second. He's going to walk you through some of the poll results.
Awesome. So yeah, we do have some exciting poll results here. And we have about 40 responses. So quite a fair bit of people signed up and shared their opinions about it. So let's see, I'll zoom this up a bit. So our first question was, what is the level of machine learning expertise? And it does seem that there is a good mix of each. So we have a quarter of us participating are beginners. They have heard about machine learning somewhat, and neural networks as well. And we do have a fair bit, the larger proportion of folks who have used some form of ML or are experts and train GANs for fun. So that's very interesting. So we are excited to have all of you. Then the next question was, what is your primary domain of interest? And we have a mix, again, a pretty good mix, which is machine learning, climate science, and both. So that is excellent. And we look forward to your exciting questions as well as participation during the rest of this event. And the next one was, what describes your work profile? Are you from the industry? Are you a student, a postdoc, or a professor? And it does seem that we have the largest chunk of our participation from the industry, so which is good. We do have a lot of talks from tech leaders from the industry, starting in 2 minutes with Jason. And then the last question was, what session are you most interested in? And this is the most heartening thing, where half of you are here for the entire for all of the sessions, and there is a pretty good even mix for each of the individual sessions. So this is pretty interesting. We're excited to have you, and we'll take a short break after this, about a minute, and then we'll be back with our first keynote, Jason Hickey from Google AI. So thank you for your patience, and we'll be right back.